What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome in to another edition of the original Call to Post here on the net, where we break down everything thoroughbred horse racing has to offer here in North America. And with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm glad we had our pre-podcast talk here where I could lay on the sofa and vent to you, my therapist, telling you about all my technical challenges today. But looks like we're up and running and ready to talk about horses.
Amen. Yeah, it's a different little setup as you can see there from Raider Jim's side, but that doesn't change anything in terms of what we're bringing to the table, just maybe a little different angle. And also, by the way, once Raider Jim got off of the couch, I handed him the clipboard. I laid on the couch for a few minutes. So, a little team therapy here, a little behind the scenes look into the First Off the Bench podcast network. We already, of course, talk about the ponies. One thing I do want to say before we get rolling, if you habitually listen all the way through to the final thoughts, and for whatever reason you're not going to today, or you got to cut it short, I would implore you to, at the very least, either, if you want to skip ahead now, or just make time to listen to the final thoughts. Just want to throw that out there. Have something, but we will get to that when the time is right. But before then, we of course have some of our own housekeeping to take care of. And I do want to just, don't worry, not pulling out the soapbox just yet, but a little bit of a PSA, just because I saw this yesterday when I was getting the podcast together. For any of our Del Mar folks, anyone going to the track, I will be there next Thursday. So give me a holler if you are in the area. But Del Mar has changed the post times going forward for the summer session. And if you're a Del Mar vet like I am, this was something I needed to point out, because it's almost like clockwork. You get the 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. post time. Those have been changed. Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, they will no longer, first race will no longer be at 2. It will be at 1:30. And on Fridays, the first race has moved from 4 p.m. to 3 p.m. So make sure that you take note of that. This is to get in apparently a few extra races before sundown. So just wanted to throw that out there, because like I said, I can't remember the last time I actually verified that the first post was at 2 o'clock. So that got me. Wanted to make sure it didn't get anybody else if I can help it. So with that being said, of course,
Interesting
yeah.
on those, excuse me, interesting on that Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, because they have always been at 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. And I know they moved the 4 o'clock just because of kind of a concert series. And I don't know if they do it too much anymore, but there used to be kind of a
Right. And
concert
that makes sense.
in that one. Yeah, definitely. Cause I mean, and this time of year, sun obviously sets, around 7 o'clock. But I think I think it gives them a little bit of extra ability. Cause look, we've all been at the track where maybe there's a 5-10 minute delay, and that might add up. If there's maybe 2 or 3 5-minute delays on the back end as well, all of a sudden we are getting close to sundown. But yeah, it's definitely a little different. I'm gonna have to change my plan up next week, because I don't know, I like to be there at least 2 hours ahead of time, and now it's like, gonna have to talk to the old boss and see if I can get that out time changed a bit, but that's a first world problem. But with that being said, time to kind of look back at the past few weeks here of the stakes races going on, of course, throughout North America. I do want to, another thing I did see, one of the horses that we talked about a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I want to say won the Whitney, King's Barn. Unfortunately, well, it's somewhat bittersweet. King's Barn has been retired from racing due to a ligament injury, so we will not see King's Barn here at Del Mar this year in the Breeders' Cup. However, I am going to focus on the sweet side of this, because I do believe that this is a positive for horse racing. 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, we probably would not have known that there was a ligament issue until it was too late. So while I do say King's Barn, unfortunately, has been retired from racing, it is not fatal. This horse will go to stud or wherever and will go on to live out the rest of its life. It won't be on the track, but the positive is we are seeing, I think, proactive measures in horse racing to save these horses' lives. Nothing worse than seeing something happen either on the track or at a workout or anything like that. So bittersweet with Kingsbarn not being around for the racing side of things, but who knows? Maybe we'll start talking about Kingsbarn as a top pedigree. But Raider Jim, your thoughts on what we've seen over the past few weeks in the thoroughbred racing stakes?
What a wild August it's really been, especially on the East Coast. You know, Saturday, August 3rd, Mother Nature decided she was
Yeah.
going to come in and take over track management and flicked her finger and knocked over a couple dominoes. And the next thing you know, the grade 2 Troy, the G1, grade 1 Saratoga Derby Invitational were postponed. They pulled them because they were not going to put those horses on the dirt. Those horses would remain on the turf. That means they had to reschedule. They actually canceled those races on that day, put them out to the following weekend. They ran the Troy on Saturday, the 10th. They ran the Saratoga Derby on Sunday, the 11th. Good and bad. I mean, it was a smart thing to do. I would tell you, I saw a harness race on, I think it was that weekend, that was so dangerous looking. The conditions looked so dangerous, perilous. I couldn't believe they were actually running these things, the trotters at that time, but they did. But still, in my mind, it was like, you know, there's one thing playing football in the rain and even running a horse in the rain. This was not just rain, this was torrential rain. So I was glad to see that Saratoga made that move on the 3rd. They did have the other races that they let run. They just moved anything that was going to be on the turf over to the dirt, but they weren't grade 2s and grade 1s with, you know, a lot on the line. So I mean, wow, that was wild. And then, like I say, they went to the 10th. So we had in the Troy Stakes, it was Surveillance, Outlaw Kid, and Step Forward, finished 1, 2, and 3. And on the 11th of August, it was the FanDuel 4-Star, which was a Breeders' Cup Challenge race. And doggone if that Carl Speckler didn't upset me and took out Ottoman Fleet. But that was quite a run. And Flavian could just never get Fleet settled. Very unsettled, kept running from the 2 lane, trying to shift here and there, looking for the opening, never did find it. Carl Speckler, hats off to him, great race. And then, yeah, and then we had, you know, like I say, unfortunately, I thought I made note of who won the Saratoga Derby, but I don't see it on my notes right now. You might have that, Brandon.
I am looking at Saratoga Derby isn't listed here on. I want to say I know for a fact that they moved the Troy. They may have. Oh, I'm sorry, Saratoga Derby. It's right here. I apologize. That would have been Carson's run um over Legend of Time and Deterministic, the Saratoga Derby.
That's right.
Yes. And I believe the weather also moved Colonials. I think it was their Arlington Million Day from Saturday to Sunday. Because I remember last week when I was putting everything together, I was going back and forth between Horse Racing Nation and DRF and going, why am I getting 2 different dates? And then it became but yeah, Mother Nature was the story. I mean, and has been the story early on, and those summer showers back east, I'm sure great for the heat and all that stuff. It was really, really impressive from Carl Spackler, and I completely agree with you. Ottoman Fleet, I mean, that is, I guess you could say, the chink in that armor, probably the only chink. That horse is so special. But sometimes, you know, look, even if Flavian can't kind of keep them together or keep them on the straight and narrow, look, at this level, mistakes will be taken advantage of. And I really am interested to kind of see where, you know, we kind of see these horses end up when Breeders' Cup do roll around, because the Breeders' Cup is such a class above. I know they call it a grade 1, but it's more than that. I mean, the grade 1 winners will be, you know, maybe 4-1 in their Breeders' Cup qualifier, and then by the time we see them in the Breeders' Cup, you're probably looking closer to 15 or 20-1. That's why we're always very intrigued by these qualifier races. But yeah, Carl Spackler, very, very impressive. And I'll give credit to Saratoga. Obviously, you know, they still had the race, but that was the right thing to do, because I think you had texted me, I think it was Meadowlands, that was in that perilous situation, and I had seen video of it, and it was getting to the point of, look, I can't imagine there's too many people there, right? Like, I could understand that, oh, people came out to see it, let's get it done, but I mean, I love horse racing more than the next, or just as much as the next guy or gal, but I'm not going in a downpour like that
Right.
to a track. So, yeah, maybe some foresight there, but for Saratoga to definitely make the right call and push things off on that side of it. But with that being said, we do have the jockey trainer standings, and I do have them ready here, Raider Jim. I know you're working on one screen. Do you want me to roll, or do you want to take the lead?
Go right ahead. I
Yeah,
do
I
want to say
figured.
something about jockeys, though, before
Oh,
we
yes,
move
please.
on, especially when we were just talking about Saratoga. I talk, it's primarily me. I put a lot of attention and excitement and praise on the battle between Irad Ortiz and Flavian Pratt back there, because they're just going head to head, head to head, head to head. And I went online this afternoon because I wanted to give, just a quick update on where they're standing. And by gosh, as good as they are, Irad Ortiz is number 2. Flavian Pratt is number 3. The number 1 jockey right now for the NYRA Saratoga circuit is Manuel Franco. And Manuel Franco has already got earnings, or written in earnings, of $2.6 million. He is finishing top 3 in the money 52% of the time. And right behind him, of course, is Irad, and behind Irad is Flavian. They're only barely $100,000 apart. But wow, hats off to Manuel Franco, and I'm going to have to start paying a little more attention to him.
Definitely. And sometimes it does, I don't want to say forgotten, but you do kind of see the Titans going head to head, and hey, I always kind of call it the fly in the champagne, the ant in the ointment, if you will. But yeah, and that's the other part. Obviously, when we do the jockey trainer standings, it's not the names that maybe you're used to, Del Mar or anything like that, and a lot of the money is back east. But as I kind of said last week, it is opening the door up for a lot of the younger jockeys to get on really good mounts at a top course, like Del Mar. But with the jockey standings, 1 through 5 will start at the top. In terms of earnings, it is JJ Hernandez, 82 starts. He has a 28% win percentage and 65% in the money. Earnings of 1.6 million. Right behind him is Umberto Rispoli, 63 starts. 16 have finished in the winner's circle, good enough for a 25% win percentage. And very similar to JJ, 65% in the money with 1.26 in earnings. Antonio Fresu, who is someone that I kind of looked at last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, as one of these young kids who's getting this opportunity. 98 starts, 13 wins for a 13% win percentage, but 43% getting in the money, and just got over the million, 1.186 million in earnings. Hector Barrios, 45 starts, 24% of those ending in the winner's circle, and 53 are in the money, just shy of a million at 926,000. And Relu Gutierrez, 60 runs, 15% win percentage, 37% in the money, just shy of 500,000. On the trainers side of things, it is John Sadler, 32 starts, 34% of the time his horses end up in the winner's circle, 63% in the money. That our old friend, that man again, Bob Baffert, 33 starts, 27% of those have ended in the in the winner's circle. 70% of his runners have been in the money. I believe, yes, the top earner barely is Bob Baffert, 953,000. Will more than likely bump over a million if he hasn't already. Philip D'Amato, 78 starts, by far the most out of anyone in the field. 10% win percentage, 36% in the money, 942,000. Michael McCarthy, 34 starts, 21% win percentage, 47% of the time ending in the money, just shy of 500,000 at 427,000. And finally, rounding out the top five, Mark Glatt, 49 starts, 12% in the money, or excuse me, 12% in the winner's circle, 45% in the money, just over 500,000, 573. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the jockey trainer situation going on at Del Mar?
I think the only surprise I see, and I'm glad to see him up at the top, is John Sadler on the trainer
Yeah.
side of things. He's always very competitive. He's that Doug O'Neill type of guy, but that's usually not the person's name that we see up on the top of the trainer board. But good for him. And yeah, at 63% in the money, definitely means it's somebody you want to watch. And you also made the remark about Phil D'Amato and the number of entries he's had. He's just going gangbusters
Yeah.
out there at Del Mar. So should be a good rest of the summer. I mean, we're already down to the last 3 weekends of racing. So if you haven't been out yet to the track, you got to get out there soon, every Thursday through Sunday. And don't forget, if you go on Thursdays, I think they have like discounts on hot dogs and things like that. So take a look at Del Mar, the crown jewel of the West Coast.
Amen. And you also get in for free. I think it's only $6 regularly, but hey, that's a ticket right there for some people. So I think you have to sign up for the Diamond Club. I think it's all on the app now. Head to Del Mar's website. They'll give you all the information. But yeah, the funny thing with Philip D'Amato, I mean, you take John Sadler, Bob Baffert, and you combine them, and they still have 12 less starts than Philip D'Amato. And but you know what he's been able to do, just shy of 1 million, even only 8 winners or only 10% win total. I think Philip D'Amato looking around, going, look, I'll run anyone, or if anybody wants to come into my stable and whatever, pay the
Right.
fees, he's going to take them. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, or obviously Baffert a little differently, but Phil D'Amato, very, very, very successful, does things kind of his way. And yeah, you're more than likely, if you are going to make it out to Del Mar, you're going to bet on a Del Mar race, you are going to see a Philip D'Amato horse in pretty much every single one of these races it's lining up for. But with that being said, time to dive into the race previews for this weekend. Only 3 races to break down as I get my notes ready. We are going to start at Saratoga. All of these races will be Saturday the 17th, despite what I put on the notes. Apologies for that, Raider Jim. I put the 15th, but it's the 17th. We are going to start at Saratoga. 2 graded stakes races, no Breeders' Cup Challenge races we'll be talking about today, but we'll get back to that in a few weeks. It is going to be race number 9, the Grade 2 Lake Placid Stakes. This is going on the inner turf, 1.16 mile for 3-year-old fillies with a purse of 200,000. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to get us started on the Lake Placid.
Yeah, early morning line favorite is the 7 horse. She Feels Pretty right now already at 2-1. John Velasquez is going to be on that horse. And as good as the horse is, a very good performing horse right now. But the horse, I think, it is going to be there and probably pull an upset to some. It's not going to be an upset to me. And currently at great value. And that number 2 jockey back in the NYRA track standings, Irad Ortiz, and that's going to be on the 10 horse Dynamic Pricing, Ireland horse trained by Chad Brown, a name we all know. And at 6-1, I don't think you can do better as far as value for that. So I really like the 10 horse to pull an upset over the early favorite, She Feels Pretty. And then I also like, I have to get the numbers right here, and forgive me, I don't have my glasses on. Horse's name is Proctor Street. Proctor Street is running out of the
9 hole.
9 spot. And then there is also on underneath there is a horse running right out of the middle of the 5 horse, and at 12-1, real good value. And don't be surprised, this horse also trained by Chad Brown, and that is going to be ridden by Frankie Del Torre, excuse me. Spaladay at 12-1. You can't go wrong watching the odds on that one. They will move a little bit. I don't know if it's going to get down to 9, but even if you get it at 9, even if you get it at 8, watch how that horse moves. If you start seeing a lot of movement on that, you definitely want to get in on that horse. There were a couple that are eligible that I would really be interested in if they were going to be, but I don't think they are going to run. And that would have been the 11 horse Beautiful Love, it would have been right now at 4-1, and then the 12-horse Lemon Muffin. But again, those aren't confirmed. So last time I looked, they weren't confirmed. But if they're there, I'm going to give them a look as well. But right now, my favorite is going to be Dynamic Pricing over She Feels Pretty, and then also Proctor Street and Spaladay.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the form right now. It does look like Beautiful Love is in. But yeah, Lemon Muffin, Monoma Gold, and Camera have all been entered for the main track only, and I feel like the precedent has
Okay.
might already be set that if the rain is too much, they push it to the next week. So the main track may not be part of it, but it doesn't say also eligible, but it does say Beautiful Love, the Irish horse running out of the 11. And yeah, it doesn't seem, I'm reading the notes right now, it does seem everything is there. But if you listen to us, we always do make the joke, we're not copying each other's homework, I promise. Dynamic Pricing was the horse that jumped out to me with by far the most value. Last time out, ran in a grade 1, however, ran at a mile and 3/16. We saw a bit of a drop in the speed because of that. This horse comes back to a mile and 16. And last time ran in the Edgewood, which is a grade 2, and actually won that race as a 9-1 shot. I think this is everything you're looking for. You're not going to see Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz at 6-1 too often. So I think by far the most value here. I worry that some of this money does come into this horse. It's almost like I want the DRF to just take Dynamic Pricing off the board for everyone right now, unless you're listening or
Right.
you've already seen it. But I don't want anyone to see that and see what I'm seeing. Um, I also did like She Feels Pretty. However, look, it's 2-1 right now. I think it'll probably even drop even lower. Wasn't a huge fan of the last time running. Was a little bit of a stretch out, but technically this will be the first time this horse runs at a mile and 16. Not a huge thing. Has ran 2 turns plenty, but a few other kind of underneath that I'm keeping an eye on. The 2 horse. I like the consistency here. It's Grayosh. 8-1, you got Flavian Pratt aboard, Chad Brown. Again, probably not going to get that jockey trainer combo at that price too often. And then I'm a big fan of the consistency. Big time step up in class. Last time was running in an optional claiming and actually lost to Proctor Street, that horse that you did talk about on your side of things. So definitely keep an eye there. I would like to see the value go up, and I think it might. Inside of that horse, you got Deep Satin. This is a pedigree. I mean, the sire of American Pharaoh. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't know who American Pharaoh is, thank you, but what are you doing here? Anyways, this is a horse that's Deep Satin is a horse that's been trending in the right direction. I think the class overall of this race might be a little much, but at 10-1, keep an eye on that. And then finally, the last one I'm throwing out there, absolutely no analytics, no reason behind this other than the fact anytime I see a horse at 50-1, it will make it onto my ticket. So Ori, it's 50-1, broke its maiden last time out at Saratoga. So technically is 1-for-1 on the turf. At this distance, we're only ran a 77, but once again, 50-1, it'll make it onto my ticket or a play show ticket, maybe a $2 play show ticket. Once again, no real science behind it other than the fact 50-1. I would kick myself if that horse finishes in the money and it didn't make it onto my ticket. So those are our thoughts for the grade 2 Lake Placid Stakes. Raider Jim, any final thoughts on that race?
On the Lake Placid, no, sir.
Perfect. Moving on to the Alabama, because of course we run the Alabama at Saratoga. This is going to be, of course, the grade 1 Alabama going 1.25 miles for the 3-year-old fillies with a purse of 600,000. As I realize my notes again did not load. So Raider Jim, I will give you the honors to get us started on the grade 1 Alabama.
Hands down, there's only one favorite in this race, and it is going to be the 7-horse Candied, already at 7-5. Not a value horse. You're not gonna get value on this one. But name jockey we just talked about, Manuel Franco. Manuel Franco is going to be riding this horse, so might as well pencil it in for definitely in the money, but probably in the winner's circle. running out of the 7 slot. I do like Candy, but that horse I like after that is the 3-horse Power Squeeze at 9-2. Not bad. Javier Castellano is going to be riding. Then I also like Just Basking. Now, Just Basking is a 5-1, not bad value running out of this 4 spot. And then we also have, of course, I wouldn't let this one go by, Miss Justify. Miss Justify is going to be running from the 6th position. That is going to be a Pletcher horse. Todd Pletcher's training. Flavian Pratt in the saddle. Miss Justify at 6-1. When you look at this race, you're going to see nothing but pretty fair value with the exception of that 7-5. And then there is a 20-1 out there running out of the 5 spot, America's Vow. But there are, there's a 15-1, there's a 6-1, 5-1, 9-2, 8-1, 6-1. So there's money to be made if you combination your bet right. Throw an exotic out there. Maybe you'll get lucky. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I do apologize. I'm having technical difficulties on my side. Zoom, I don't know what their situation is. They're only giving me the 40 minutes. So we have about 9 minutes before this ends. So I'm going to get my thoughts in really quickly. The only holdup I do have with Candied is I think this horse might be better at a 1:16. Runs so well at that distance. Last time out, stretched out to 1:1/8. Look, lost out to Torpedo Anna, so I'm not going to give too much, but it did drop in its speed, and now we're going 1.25 miles. So if you are looking for a little chink in the armor, that could be it. I'm also really high on Miss Justify. A lot of it is because of that pedigree, but this is a huge class jump for that horse. I love Just Basking. Broke her maiden at this distance, and I think the value at 5-1 is fantastic, and I think that it could even get even higher when more money does come in. One final one, Intricate on the rail. I think if we can get back to early February running an 87 at Fairgrounds, I think this horse definitely keeps an eye on it. I really do like Tyler Gaffleone aboard though on the rail though, so keep an eye there, but that might be more of an underneath pick. But we are going to move on to our final race. It is the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks, going 1.125 miles on the turf at Del Mar. I'll get this one started. The one horse is I Scream, You Scream, heavy favorite at 8-5, possibly the best 3-year-old filly at Del Mar. Value an issue, but I think the best in this field. Already beaten some of the top contenders. However, hasn't faced the 3-horse Whiskey Decision. I think, which I love that name, by the way. Whiskey Decision is a horse that I think has the opportunity to go head-to-head with I Scream, You Scream. However, big jump up in class for Whiskey Decision. And then underneath, I really do like Circle of Trust. Last time out was really good. However, the question has to be, was it a fluke? We might find out. Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks?
Yeah, the Oaks is going to be a good one. And if you look at some of the horses that Brandon just talked about, and one that I'm going to mention, the one horse, I Scream, You Scream, hands down favorite, will not make you a lot of money unless you have the right combination, but trained by Phil D'Amato. You could look at Circle of Trust. Circle of Trust is also trained by Phil D'Amato. And at 6-1, that's a lot of good value. And also on my ticket, my third horse on the ticket is one that I'm familiar with, and that's running out of the 6th spot, Maduro. Maduro's a great horse at 5-1, also not bad value. And then on my underneath horse, as go ahead and work it in, same thing as you just mentioned though. Jump in class was my only concern, but Whiskey Decisions is also on my list. So one horse, I Scream, You Scream, 6-horse Maduro, Circle of Trust running out of the 2 spot, and then Whiskey Dreams running out of the 3 spot.
Yeah, and thank you. I was moving way too fast. Medora was my value pick. I just love the consistency. However, of course, it does run into this situation of yes, but have you beat I Scream, You Scream, and that horse has not. So that's where that holds up. But that will be an interesting one there as we get ready. But final thoughts. This is kind of more of a kind of revisionist
Correction.
history, or maybe a correction. So a few weeks ago we were talking and I meant to pull up the person's name. You'll know who I'm talking about, and I don't have the time to do it right now. I do apologize. But it was the Olympic boxer from, I believe, Algeria, There was some questions about whether or not her biological sex, of course, in the boxing side of things. When we did talk about that, the reports that were out there had it that that individual was a biological male. Unfortunately, the minute I hit stop and pulled up my phone, the first article I saw was a correction, essentially, or at least setting the record straight. They suffer, they were at birth, they were given what's called a DSD. I believe it's dystopia or distorted sex disorder, something like that. I apologize. I should have done my homework. But anyways, that happened. And it is essentially a birth situation where it's technically, let's just say, anatomically, biologically female. However, there is an extra chromosome, and you get the XY chromosome and testosterone levels that are similar to men. So I do want to correct. Now, there are other reports coming out that no, they are actually biological male. I don't know. But what I am going to say is, if this person is biologically female, I sincerely apologize.
Correct.
It doesn't
Likewise.
change my, yes, and Raider Jim as well. But for myself, it doesn't change my opinion that I don't think this person should have competed, because as unfair as it is, it's not their fault that they were given this at birth. They have an inherent advantage that could seriously hurt someone. So once again, while I want to correct what we talked about, it doesn't change my opinion. Now, I don't look at it maybe as maliciously as I did earlier. However, again, it doesn't change my opinion. I just wanted to get that out there. Raider Jim, I don't know if you wanted to add anything as well.
I couldn't have said it better, and I agree. And I was the one that was leading that charge and first one to step on the bandwagon. So again, also my sincere apologies.
Yeah, and look, these days, it's not like we were the only ones to get, hoodwinked or bamboozled. But still, it is difficult sometimes, when you have so much information, and I don't want to say the misinformation, because sometimes the misinformation does turn into the correct. I don't know. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes, we just want to make sure that we get it right. And if we do offend anyone, ideally, I mean, I don't want to offend anyone, but I want it to be because we picked a horse that they are just absolutely perturbed with. That's how we want to offend people. And like I said,
Right.
if we do it all, not in this manner. But so just wanted to hit the head on that, but don't really have anything else to go for there. But once again, thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the original Call to Post here on the network. And I do want to apologize again. Next week or the next time we record, it won't feel so rushed towards the end. Once again, need to have a little chat with Zoom on the back end, but can't really stop doing what we're doing. But thank you.
And if
all
we have 20 seconds,
we have, oh yeah, we have 2 minutes. So go for it.
20 seconds. I just wanted to say a belated happy birthday to Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith, who rode right into the winner's circle today on race 1. And I was right there behind him with my ticket yelling, congratulations and nice race. And that also led to my daily double ticket cashing in today. So thanks, Mike. You made the start of my Del Mar weekend a very nice one, and happy birthday to you.
That's the adult version of going to a party. When we were kids, we go to a party and everyone got a little gift bag, right? Well, Mike Smith just
exactly
his little gift bag on his birthday to Raider Jim, and hopefully you all out there as well was, hey, let's take this horse for a ride and let's win a couple bucks. So happy birthday and congratulations to probably the greatest jockey of our generation, Mr. Mike Smith. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the original Call to Post, presented by the First Off the Bench Podcast Network. It is time for you all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to you all very soon. Take care.